This last story comes from sciencenews.org. Maria Temming writes about thin, shape-shifting films that may one day make for more real-world experiences, and specifically in the VR space, virtual reality.
So we're basically being able to improve on the experience of the virtual reality.
Right. Now, as it stands right now, VR headsets are becoming more and more commonplace. Whether you're using a dedicated VR headset like the HTC Vive, PlayStation VR, or the Oculus Rift, that is kind of like its own, that's what it's for.
It was made for the VR.
Or something like the Google headsets that are being used, as well as Samsung, where you kind of attach your phone,
your smartphone to the device.
Right. VR is kind of taking off in this sense because we're getting a lot of nice 360-degree camera sort of usage with
it's
with
just
these
a
things.
cool way to image and be immersed in an environment. Yeah.
And that's all well and good for the visual side of it, and even the audio side of it in some cases. But a lot of people are trying to tackle the problem of locomotion in VR, right? Like how do you
move through the environment?
Yeah, so if you're in a VR kind of space, you see everything all around you that is being rendered by the graphics of what's going on, behind the scenes. And people are trying to come up with clever ways to solve the locomotion of like how do you move within the VR space problem, as well as more what we call haptic feedback, kind of immersing you in other ways beyond just eyesight and hearing. So things like touch, smell, these sorts of kind of responses.
Gotcha, yeah.
And so this new research is looking at, quote, super thin, shape-shifting sheets worn as sleeves or built into other garments that could provide gamers with tactile feedback that makes virtual realities more immersive. And the way they're doing that, Tom, is by these sheets of like ultra small bubbles that they can measure the amount of distortion that each bubble has.
So is this kind of like when you watch people make movies and they put all those dots on somebody and they track them? Is it anything like that? Or am I...
Kind of, right? So what you're talking about is, getting a read on somebody's facial expressions by tracking the individual motion of every little dot, kind of crevice of your face. This is similar in that aspect as like it would be something that you would wear, right? Like maybe like a shirt
that you would put on. Yeah.
Think like an Under Armour garment or something like that, and it's got these thin films of bubbles where if in some sort of sequence while you're immersed in a VR experience and within the environment somebody comes up to you and grabs you by the arm,
you would feel it.
You would feel it because the bubbles would then exert that pressure on your arm, and it would give the sensation.
I can see that being kind of insane.
Yeah.
What if you're playing a VR zombie game and they grab you?
Totally insane.
That's a little too much.
Yeah, definitely. Have you experienced VR firsthand yet, Tom? Have you tried any VR headsets or any sort of thing like that?
Not really.
No?
I don't have too much experience with them, no.
Okay. I tried one VR headset. Yeah, I think it was the Rift, the Oculus Rift, when I was at Comic-Con some years back. And it was definitely like really involved, and I was sort of taken aback by it.
But like how in depth it was, or like
it was. I don't remember the exact demo that I was doing, but
it was for a video game though.
Yeah, it was some sort of game. I was riding on the back of like a big pterodactyl-like creature, and
sounds pretty sick.
You can look around and things were chasing and blah blah blah. And the people that were giving the demo were, taking a fan and sort of keeping the air moving in front of me and like misting me with like, kind of like those weird movies.
So they were actually doing it to you, as opposed to getting a real feedback of.
Right.
Okay.
So now, if this all comes into existence, this research,
that seems pretty crazy.
Then you just put on maybe this cloak, and it would do all of that for you in a sense, so that there doesn't have to be a team of people
to simulate the environment.
Right. I think that this is all very interesting, but I wonder, Tom, like how far is too far with creating a
An
virtual
immersive
reality
experience. Yeah.
space, right? Like
How? Why
the
not? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
the
Yeah.
closer we get to achieving true virtual reality, where it's like indistinguishable
From
from
being actually outside.
yeah
and doing
being in
things,
real
yeah.
life, like makes me wonder if we're already in some fucking virtual reality simulation. Like I don't know. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I've read a bunch of those articles about simulation. Like, as we get better and better at simulating it, you're like, this is just the manifestation of the best simulation that
Yeah.
we're in right now.
Now I don't think that we
Trippy
are
stuff.
in a
No,
simulation.
yeah.
Just for the record.
Just for the record. Yeah.
But it is somewhat concerning to me that like we are really so dead set gung ho. Like
On trying to recreate the experience
there's
of, yeah.
yeah there's not a lot of negative feedback from this type of research, right?
Like,
Nobody is
everyone's
kind
like,
of
go for it.
sounding the
You know?
alarm. Yeah.
Do it as best you can.
Yeah.
Go for it, yeah.
So I wonder, like, you know, will there come a point where humanity just really can't tell the difference? Like, almost like Inception, when
They don't even know they're
they're
dreaming,
sleeping, yeah, they're dreaming, and like, it's like, no, dude, they come here to wake up because they're so involved with the dreaming.
This is
part.
their life, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think that there's a danger in researching these types of things, or do you think it's fine and we should just go for it?
Yeah, I guess you got to be kind of cautious about everything, but I'm not really too worried about this kind of stuff. I
This
think it should
particular
be good, though, yeah.
this particular article keeps referring to applications in video games and the gamer and blah 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 blah. What do you think?
It
Do you
seems
think
a little much for gaming, though. I mean,
you think the future of VR rests in gaming, or do you think that
I personally don't. But
I'm with you. I personally see that VR kind of takes off
more of like a
tangentially from
movie-going experience or like a environment simulating experience, like going to Mars and things like that, as opposed to playing a game or where you're completing tasks and doing things or playing against other people. I see that being less of a VR experience personally.
Yeah, me as well. I think that it's going to have way more of an application in sending you to the bottom of the ocean, right?
Things like
Or
that.
like sending you into the heart of the Amazon
Instead
rainforest.
of playing
yeah.
a game at
Yeah,
it.
I mean, playing games is definitely cool, and don't get me wrong, but I just think that there's more versatility in these
In
other
these other
applications than there would be for
yeah,
traditional
because
video
a
games.
lot of times it seems amazing, right? Like the game at first hand, when you think that the game would be better if you could be more immersed in the experience. But that's not really how it always works. It's not just putting you there. It's got to be a good experience and like a quality playthrough, and it all works right. It's not just all about just plopping you in there and just making it as real as possible.
Right.
For me, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think that just is what makes the game amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't see VR being the future of gaming, but its future in our society is going to be something.
It's
Who
coming.
knows? Yeah, it's going to be there. Yeah.
Definitely cool. Awesome.
But yeah.
All right. Well, that's my last story there, Tom.
Amber says that more people are making VR for relaxation, not just for games, like being able to put you in a relaxed environment.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool too.
Yeah, kind of like
Didn't
the
think about
float
that.
place that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so not even needing to float, be virtually floating.
Yeah.
All right.
Very cool.